Hello, and welcome to the Healthy Approach podcast. Today's topic is over nitric oxide, and with me today is Beth Shirley. If you're a nerd like me, you're going to want to listen to this lady all day long. So let me give you her bio real fast. Beth has 40 plus years as a pharmacist and certified clinical nutritionist. Her specialties include stress-induced hormonal imbalance, intestinal dysfunction, autoimmune and chronic inflammatory issues. Over the last 9 years, Beth has spent time working with some of the leading thought leaders in the world of nitric oxide research, and through this has developed an in-depth knowledge on the topic and its potential applications in patient care. She currently is the executive director of the Berkeley Life Scientific Advisory Board. Welcome to the show, Beth.
Thanks for having me.
So let's jump right into it.
Okay.
What is nitric oxide, and why is it called the miracle molecule?
Well, nitric oxide is a molecule of nitrogen and oxygen. And it's not nitrous oxide, what the dentist gives you. Mm-hmm. It's not nitrogen dioxide. This is what you find in pollution. But nitric oxide is a molecule that affects every single physiological function in our body.
So how did you get involved in all this topic of nitric oxide?
About 10 years ago, I was working with a company that came out with a nitric oxide product. So I helped develop the product and put it in pharmacies and doctor's office.
Because you saw the importance of this nitric oxide thing and
Yes.
how it's really helping people. So let's talk about how is nitric oxide made in the body naturally?
Well, there's two different ways our body can make nitric oxide. One is through an enzyme system called nitric oxide synthase, NOS. And another is through the nitrate to nitrite to NO pathway. So the NOS enzyme system is affected by everything. Like by the time we're 40, our NOS enzyme system probably works around 50%. By the time we're 60, it only works around 15%. So we have to have another way to make nitric oxide that bypasses that NOS enzyme system. Nitric oxide is essential for a healthy cardiovascular system, for a healthy circulation and microcirculation, to be able to deliver oxygen, nutrients, glucose to the cell and take away the debris.
Mm-hmm. So why does it diminish as we get older?
Well, there's a lot of different reasons. Pollution, our diet, inactivity, couch potatoes, genetic, SNPs, SNP. Like if most people have heard of MTHFR, SNPs. So if you've got some genetic SNPs and MTHFR, you are by definition nitric oxide deficient.
So there really are just genetic issues that can be associated with
Right.
nitric oxide deficiency. But for majority
Plus
of us, that's not environmental things. So
Right.
a lot of things that create inflammation.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense. So when you talk about these nitrate issues, is this the same as what we hear about in our lunch meats?
There are nitrates in the lunch meat, in the processed meats, but the study saying that you needed to avoid them to avoid the nitrosamines, the cancer-causing molecules, that has been disproven through peer-reviewed studies.
Really?
This was not an in vivo test. So when you find lunch meats that say no nitrates added, they've actually added celery juice or beet juice, and it has more nitrates and nitrites than if they would have just added them to the meat.
So what you're saying, celery and beets are good sources of natural nitrates.
Right.
And this helps us make nitric oxide, correct? Right. Okay. So that's what they're doing with the lunch meats now.
Right. I mean, there's probably other things within those foods that we really shouldn't be eating, but it's not the nitrate issue.
But that's
that we
what they're
should avoid.
marketing out there is
I know
that
they
all
are.
nitrate-free meat. So
I know
really,
they are.
that's not what we need to be looking for, right?
No.
There's other things that are probably worse in those meats than nitrate problems.
Yes.
So what are the benefits of nitric oxide generally for me taking, in fact, this morning you made me come in and take a test strip and see where my nitric oxide levels were at, and I was depleted.
Right.
So if I start taking, this certain products like beet powders or something to help increase my nitric oxide, what benefits do I expect to see?
Your energy level. Usually the fatigue is relieved. You will have better circulation. Your hands and feet won't be so cold. You will be able to exercise longer, recover easier. You'll be able to think better. You've got to have adequate circulation and microcirculation in the brain to be able to deliver the oxygen, the nutrients.
So it could help with brain fog type scenarios.
Yes.
Okay. What about these high performance athletes? You talked about recovering faster. So an athlete, a runner, or someone who sprints or is always very highly active, do they really benefit from more nitric oxide as well?
Yes, they do. They will. The red blood cell, in order to release its oxygen to the tissues, has to have adequate nitric oxide. So when you replete these levels, you won't need as much oxygen to the tissues. I mean, because you're releasing it better. So you'll be able, the endurance is there, but also your nitric oxide increases mitochondrial biogenesis, which means
It's a big word.
Which means you will increase the number of your mitochondria. The mitochondria are what produce your ATP, your energy.
The powerhouse of the cell, right? Yes, that's where energy comes from.
Right.
So you're saying the more mitochondria this can produce, the more energy we can have?
Yes.
See, that's why I would take it.
Yeah.
So, but it's not good just for the athletes, right? What about the couch potatoes?
Well, they have a decreased nitric oxide production. So by giving this to somebody whose nitric oxide isn't optimal, you will help them think better, exercise better. I mean, maybe they'll have enough energy that they feel like they want to go out and take a walk.
Mm-hmm. So you talked about beets and celery already, but what other ways is there to increase your nitric oxide level?
Arugula, celery, beets, spinach, all the green leafy vegetables.
That we don't eat enough of, right?
Right.
Yeah.
The DASH diet and the Mediterranean diet, they are known for decreasing cardiovascular disease and increasing longevity. It's due to the nitrate concentration.
Because a lot of those foods that you just mentioned are in it. It makes sense. So that's why it's so good for cardiovascular health, right?
Right.
So how does one begin to restore their nitric oxide level if they're not eating those foods?
Well, we have the Berkeley Life product here, which is a potassium nitrate product. And by eating the nitrate-rich foods or taking the Berkeley Life supplement, the potassium nitrate, we swallow the nitrates, it gets absorbed, the nitrates get concentrated in the salivary glands. Salivary glands release it, and we've got good bacteria on the top of our tongue that will reduce that nitrate to nitrite. Then we swallow the nitrite, and in the acidic environment of the stomach, and we have a little bit of vitamin C as ascorbic acid in this product to help reduce that nitrite further to nitric oxide. Plus, a lot of the nitrate is absorbed and goes to different tissues, and we have other enzymes in those tissues that will make the nitric oxide where it's needed in the body.
And the product you're referring to is the Berkeley Life Nitric Oxide capsules, right? It's a brand that you worked with to try to provide them a lot of information on nitric oxide and so forth, which is an awesome product, I have to say. You got the B vitamins and vitamin C in there, like you said. So there's also products out there who are doing it through L-arginine sources or L-citrulline. Can you explain a little bit more about if that's a better benefit or not?
I don't recommend arginine products at all. The cell will not even take up arginine to feed into that NOS enzyme pathway. And when you give arginine to somebody who that NOS pathway isn't working right, you actually can increase inflammation.
Mm-hmm.
The cell will take up citrulline and makes its own arginine to feed into that NOS pathway. However, you're still trying to make a pathway work that is not functioning optimally.
Why wouldn't it function? Is it genetics?
Genetics, environment, pollution, inactivity.
Mm-hmm. The couch potato.
Yeah, the standard American diet, the SAD diet.
Okay. So what do I do if I'm taking 2 capsules or a serving of your leafy green vegetables and it doesn't improve my nitric oxide? What would be reasons why my nitric oxide doesn't go up?
You start asking questions. Are you using a mouthwash? Because antibacterial, antimicrobial mouthwashes will kill the good bacteria in our mouth
Mm-hmm.
that take that nitrate and make it into nitrite.
So you're saying the bacteria helps that conversion of nitric oxide?
Yes.
Wow. So even mouthwashes that contain tea tree oil could prevent you from making nitric oxide.
Potentially can. Yes.
Wasn't there a study done on that?
Yes, there was a big study done they used a prescription mouthwash, chlorhexidine, but within 7 days, it actually increased blood pressure substantially.
Wow.
Like 90%. I mean, it was substantial increase of blood pressure.
All because you're killing all that good bacteria
in
that
your mouth.
microbiome that helps
Right.
convert nitric oxide.
Right.
Very interesting. So it's not good if you're trying to get your nitric oxide levels. A mouthwash is not advisable.
No, or the whitener toothpaste, because most of them have hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide is antimicrobial.
Makes sense.
Right.
Makes sense. So is there a lot of research done on nitric oxide?
In 1998, a Nobel Prize was awarded to 3 biochemists around nitric oxide. And since then, there's 166,000 studies done on nitric oxide.
That's amazing. So there's lots of research out there.
Yes, there is.
So if I start taking nitric oxide today, which I plan on doing since I was depleted this morning, apparently,
Right.
how long would it take me to restore my nitric oxide levels?
Within an hour to an hour and a half, you will see a change in the test strip. So the test strip that we have tests your nitrite concentration in your mouth. So this tests your ability to take that nitrate and move it on down to nitric oxide. So if you don't see that test strip change within an hour and a half, then that's when you need to start asking questions about the mouthwash, or maybe even you're just really depleted.
That's right.
Because the muscle will store the nitrate and the nitrite, because it needs to have a lot of nitric oxide in your muscles for exercise.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So maybe we need to replenish those stores.
That's why it can help muscle recovery too.
Right.
You talked about the benefit to the brain and muscle recovery, circulation. What else is it good for?
We're getting fasting blood glucose down.
Blood glucose is coming down with nitric oxide?
Yes.
That's amazing.
The cell, there's a receptor on the cell that requires adequate nitric oxide in order to bring glucose into the cell. So we're getting fasting blood glucose
So you're
down.
utilizing the sugar better by increasing nitric oxide levels.
Right.
Wow, that's amazing. So it's great for a lot of people with blood sugar dysregulation.
Right. And 50% of people with diabetes have neuropathy eventually. And that's a circulatory issue.
Mm-hmm.
So this will help with that.
What about people with Raynaud's disease?
Perfect.
Yeah, good for them too.
Perfect. Yes.
Wow. And I've also seen a lot of studies towards erectile dysfunction.
With erectile dysfunction, the ED drugs, the Cialis, the Viagra, they are unable to work without adequate nitric oxide at the base. So they only work in like maybe 40 to 50% of the people. But by replenishing the nitric oxide, not only will they work better, a lot of people find that this product will help them even better than those drugs.
Wow. You don't really realize how important nitrates really are to the body.
It affects every single physiological function.
It does. And isn't nitroglycerin that they give to heart patients isn't that precursor too?
That's a nitrate product.
It's a nitrate product. Very interesting. So that's why they're using a lot of their ED drugs or even heart drugs in that way to try to increase the nitrates. They know how important it is.
Right.
Very interesting.
The Viagra was actually, they were working on a cardiovascular drug when they discovered that.
So it was by accident?
Yeah. That they found out that it helped for ED. Yeah.
What about women in sexual performance? Does it help women too?
It does help women. Us women, we need adequate nitric oxide in order to respond. Mm-hmm. The lubrication is mediated by nitric oxide. So when we're nitric oxide deficient, we're not responding, we're not lubricating, and then you get to the point where, why? I mean, we lose our libido if we can't feel and we can't lubricate. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So this has helped a lot of women in order to start actually even thinking about it again.
Because you were even telling me, I guess, a few weeks back that even they're seeing a lot of studies with moods too as well, helping with neurotransmitters. Is that right?
That's right. So the nitrate supplementation will actually increase the production of this molecule called BH4, which is tetrahydrobiopterin. This helps that NOS, the NOS enzyme, work better, but also that BH4 is essential for us to make our serotonin, our dopamine, our norepinephrine, our epinephrine. So if you're helping to make more of that BH4, then you're helping support healthy moods.
Mm-hmm. Wow, so it's great for moods, great for circulation, great for brain health, great for energy, sexual performance. Yeah. I mean, gosh, what's it not good for? Who shouldn't be taking this?
I don't know anybody that shouldn't be adding nitrates into their diet. And if they can't get enough in their diet, add the supplement. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And in your supplement, I see that potassium nitrate's in there. Is there any concern of the potassium being in there for like people taking blood pressure medications or anything with that nature?
Not at all. A small glass of tomato juice has 450 milligrams of potassium in. And this product has 180 milligrams of potassium in it.
Okay, so still very low dosage.
Right. It's got less than a banana.
Yeah, so very, very safe for just about anybody to take.
Right.
No matter what they're taking. And I love Berkeley Life. I mean, with their product that they made with the potassium nitrates and the beet powder they added to it, you got the test strips. The test strips are awesome, so you can actually see how well the product works and how fast it works.
Right, and you can also test yourself. Like you take the couple capsules in the morning, and then if it's got a half-life, it will last from 5 to 8 hours. But if you eat some arugula at lunch and some beets or spinach at dinner, you will extend the half-life. You will extend how long this product works in your body.
And really help people with energy through the whole day.
Right.
Not like a cup of coffee, it lasts a couple hours for them.
Right. You won't get the rebound fatigue.
One of my coworkers took a couple of capsules of this product, and she was bouncing around all over the place.
I know, she was doing
within
good.
Within an hour, it's crazy how fast it worked.
Yeah.
Well, it's amazing stuff. Berkeley Life, they got a great nitric oxide capsule here and great test strips to go with it to confirm it. Beth, I really appreciate you being here today.
Thank you.
Thanks all for your information. That's going to do it for this episode of the Healthy Approach Podcast. If you like this podcast, please subscribe and help us spread the word by rating and sharing with your friends and family. To learn more about the benefits of nitric oxide, you can go to sunflowershoppe.com. That's shop with 2 P's and an E, or visit us at one of our 3 locations in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.